Hello guys, this is Arnob and welcome to AH Protocol. So today I'm going to demonstrate how to draw face, hair and cloth textures by using color pencils. And by thinking about the beginners, I kept it pretty simple by choosing a reference having minimum texture and by using some pencils which are close to my reference image. So we won't be needed to work out with the different colors to get our desired tones. I'm using all the budget-friendly pencils for this project and not the high-end ones. And I do recommend you guys to use this type of pencils only at the beginning and do not go for the expensive ones. These are pretty good for your practice. So you can see on my right hand side, these are some pencils specially based on skin tones, but these are still need to be blended with one another to get desired tones. So I decide to use few more pencils so I can go with less blending, and these are on my left along with some eraser and white pens. Let me show you a bit of the result first so you guys can assume the quality of the final product. Interesting enough? Okay, let's start the tutorial. At first, I'm just blocking the edges of the eye and the inside of the pupil with a very light pressure, but leaving some portions for the highlights. And always remember to use light pressure unless you are burnishing some portions. If you don't know what is burnish, then don't worry, we will discuss about it later in this video. So after that, I'm just darkening the pupil bit by bit by using black and brown simultaneously. After I get satisfied with the pupil, I start filling the eye with white, and for the shadows I'll use grey. And for the corners I'm using reddish brown from the set of skin tones just to simulate flesh, and browns too, to darkening up some portions. Remember friends, here I am trying to achieve bit realistic outcome, but not the hyper realistic. So I have limited my color palette for this project. If you want to do some hyper realism work, then you have to use more colors according to the reference image. So here I am using light flesh tone for the base layer, and you guys will see that I'll be using medium and dark flesh tones, browns and purple too according to my reference. Like here I am using browns to shade the upper portion of the eyes. Using grey for sclera, or we can say the white portion of the eye. In the similar way, I'll use all of those mid to dark tones to create skin textures. It will make drawing pop up and it will look like bit three-dimensional. If your layer is not good enough, then make another layer of that same color, but do not push the pencil so hard on paper. In that way, your paper tooth get ruined and you won't be able to raise another layer. For the skin portions like forehead, cheek, nose, chin, etc., I'll do more or less the same. Like I'll use light flesh for the base and variation of darker tones according to my reference image. For the lips, I am using pretty same technique that I have used to draw eyes. At the first, I am just creating the outline of the upper lip with brown. Oh yes, I use brown to outline most of the times because it is so close to natural human color, closer than black also. So it gets blended with another colors quite easily. After the outline, I am filling up the lip with very light layer of that same color. Now I am filling the lower lip with medium flesh. This flesh tone is looking so pinkish on camera, and also that brown I was using before is looking like raw umber. But those are slightly different tones. Because of my room's lighting, these colors are seen slightly on the different shades. And do not get afraid on these different shades I am using for this pair. Eventually they will become closure. Applying white for blending and making the shade bit lighter, and medium flesh and purple for low and heavy shadows. I do not need to say much about the chin. This is same old technique I am using, but the color ratios are always different. Actually, no one can tell you what to use which color and how much. Every picture requires different shading. Just do it. Just do the thing. Grab a paper and start drawing. You will get the idea when you start your own drawing. And don't afraid of getting wrong. If you have done something wrong, then you have learned something right. Now let me talk about the varnish. This is the technique usually artists do to spread the color layer evenly and for closing up the gaps of the paper. For burnishing, you need to press the pencil little bit harder this time. In this process, we flatten down the tooths of the paper, or I can say making the paper smoother. But you need to keep in mind that we do burnish after the last layer is done, because once the burnish gets done, we can't apply another layer on it. After getting all layers done, I'm burnishing this with light and medium flesh. And for the single color hair like this kid have, I prefer using 3 shades for light tone, mid tone and dark tone. Here I am using light grey for light tone, dark grey for mid tone and black for dark tone. Drawing hair is pretty simple yet time consuming. You need to check for the flow of the hair and you have to add strokes with the same direction. I'm just adding the strokes for hair, nothing much. But using light grey only to cover up most of the parts, then dark grey for darker areas. and lastly black for the darkest areas. After the cover up process, I prefer adding few extra light and mid tones to make the light to dark transition more natural. For the shirt we need to fill the base layer first, so I am filling it with red. It's pretty straightforward red, nothing fancy, but I am still filling it with few layers, but not pressing the pencil hard. I need to create shadows and ridges on the shirt, so I need the room for more layers. Now I am adding darker red to create shadows and ridges. If I had ruined this portion with the last layer, then it would be a problem for adding this layer. For the background, I am just using charcoal pencil and making the corners bit more darker than the center, because my aim was to make people focus on the center, and after that I blend it properly to make the transition smooth. At the last I am just adding highlights on the eyes using white gel pen. Well then, my job is done here. Hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and really hope to see you in the next video. Until then, goodbye, take care.